Good morning, everyone. So here we are. It's Friday already, Friday the 17th of October. I have to check on here. Anyway, and the good news for today is Eric is on board. You may have seen the post underneath. We had our first man overboard for the 580. No one's ever fallen off a 580 before, but fortunately, Eric was tethered on board when it happened. I put a post up just right now underneath this one. You can read a bit about it there, and we'll talk a bit about it after we do the little tracker. I'm not expecting a whole heap of people. We've only got 3 boats out there: Jasmine, Eric, and Josh. But nonetheless, we'll look at the weather and bits and pieces, work out ETAs, because there'll be quite a few people there keen to welcome Eric when he's there, see him again. So pretty traumatic for him. And I'll read the report that he sent to us early hours of this morning, and then later on, we'll be able to learn a lot about what actually happened and how he got back on board and how he's feeling and so on, with a full debrief, which we will do because, as I mentioned to Brenda, his wife, safety manager, a lot to be learnt from this one. And interesting, he's already commenting about the challenge associated with his inflated life jacket being a real problem trying to get back on board the boat. So a whole pile of points there. Anyway, we'll talk about that briefly. But as I say, great to have him on board. He obviously did the right thing. He was clicked on, but boy, it is. We'll talk about it more. We'll go through the tracker first, and then we'll come on to that. So there's a few people there, so stand by, and I will see how we go. So you're on the tracker now, and I'm coming up on the tracker, so I'm on the tracker too. There it is, 3 boats, Josh down the back, Jasmine, who's not lagging behind so far. I looked at it and thought, wow, how come they jump? But she's not pinged a position for 8 o'clock this morning, so she's 4 hours behind on the positions compared to Eric. Anyway, back here at Josh, got his own challenges, 4.3 knots, and did a 105-mile day, so all looking good. And his manager, partner, sent me a message out of the blue, sort of thing, not part of the usual routine, just saying, boy, the mainsail looks like it's completely trashed. I think Josh might be having a few challenges. But anyway, the good news is that Jasmine has the original mainsail from that was Etienne's. Did one transat, and I don't think she's always used a new main, so it's only done one transat. But anyway, she's got it, and apparently organising to get it to Josh, possibly even in Mauritius, which would be pretty cool. So I'm sure he'd be very happy to have that. But anyway, so that's being sorted. So he's underway. And right now, let's just concentrate on one boat at a time. So Josh is approximately, from the turn point, he's about 175 miles, another 185 miles. So it'll be a little bit under 2 days yet for Josh. So he should be able to get in. It's daylight there now, so it'll be a daylight arrival. He won't have to anchor off the harbour entrance. He should be able to go straight in. So hopefully he'll be in and cleared customs within 2 days, which means it's the 19th. So that'll give him 19, 20, and 4 days. Is not long, because they've got to be back to clear out on the 24th. But anyway, he's already intimated he might not make the start with everyone else, so that's fine. He'll be happy to get there. Okay, so that's ETAs for Josh. Now, Jasmine, still on a 4:01 UTC time position, so she was a little bit ahead of Eric previously, so we'll assume that's the case. I'll blow this up so you can see what's going on. So Jasmine will be just over here somewhere. Eric's coming down a little bit, probably trying to keep comfortable with the wind rather than dead square, keep it on the port quarter, which is where he climbed back on board. So happy to hear about that. That's quite convenient, because it might not have been the low side at the time, because I think at the time, just looking at his track, he would have been going dead square. So anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing the story. So Eric is currently doing 4.9 knots, 114-mile day, so he managed to keep up a good average. Jasmine back then had done 125-mile day, so Eric had done 114, yes, lost probably an hour or half an hour or whatever, I'm not sure. But anyway, So she will for sure be around, just a boat length or so in graphic image style, not just 5.8 meters in front of in front of Eric, but that's where they'll be. So I'll work out some ETAs here. So we'll assume I'll go for both. So Jazz is about there. Eric's a little bit behind. To the turn point, they've got effectively 36 miles. So 7, 8 hours, 9, 10, probably 12 hours. They're going to be 10, 11, 12 hours, something like that. And that means they'll be coming in the dark maybe. So they'll have to anchor off because they don't let them in. The Coast Guard doesn't let them come up the harbour during daylight, which I was quite surprised about. I didn't realise that in the beginning because it's quite well lit and it's a big harbour, clear entrance, but they don't like yachts coming in or whatever, ships coming in during the night. So they'll have to wait until the morning and then clear. So that means there'll be a Saturday clearance for them. It'll be in the 18th, so they'll have 5, 6, 7 potential days, but they'll have to clear customs. We had a discussion. There's a few issues. We had a discussion about trying to start the race from up the top, the north end of the island in Great Bay, where I'll just show you what's going on there. Where the yacht club is, the Grand Bay. I call it Great Bay, but Grand Bay. But it's a little bit difficult because if they were to start there, they haven't done the whole loop, and because the finish line is actually at the entrance to the harbour, so it's a little bit challenging to try and have another start line up there. And the usual procedure is that boats have to come down to clear customs and quarantine, and then the Coast Guard want them there to actually leave. So there's a few little challenges and stuff, but the main one in principle, even if the authorities were, amiable to change the regulations to let everyone clear from up there and start from there, is that then they wouldn't close the loop. So it's really not an issue, because some people, you'd have the winner of the boat, the winner of the race, anyone could say, you didn't do a solo circumnavigation because you didn't bloody, start and finish from the same point there. So it's a bit challenging. Anyway, part of the course. So what sort of weather is Josh going to get for the rest of his trip? Let's just have a quick look here. Let's come back to the wind. So there it is, day 1. I'm just going to go bang. That's day 2. It's softening off a bit. How much is it softening off? Boom, day 2. No, it's not softening much. So if Josh keeps going, it's light winds, nothing dramatic happening there. Even with the sea state, should be down pretty average all the way through. Yeah, it's under 2 meters now. So that'll be down about 1.5 meters light wind. So good sailing for Josh all the way in. So that's all good. We're pretty much done there. There's not a lot I can tell you about that lot. So I'll come back here and we'll have a quick chat about the entrant reports. Here we go. So entrant reports. Here we go. Yesterday, Josh. I don't know whether we did the time on that. 5 o'clock. Yeah, we did. So we reported that. Okay. And then the Sun Bear report. That's the only real report I've got for the moment. So Sun Bear update Friday, the 17th. And this is what he told us all. Around 70 nautical miles from the finish line. Lots of rain squalls this morning. Last night, I had the most scariest time of my life. The most dreaded thing that can happen to a sailor is going overboard at night. Last night, I was on the bow putting a spinnaker pole away, and a big wave hit the boat, and next thing I knew, I was in the water being dragged by my tether. I honestly thought it was all over for me. After many attempts, I finally dragged myself back on board over the port quarter. Wet and still very shaken. I'm very thankful I'm okay. All the best, Eric. So that was pretty shocking news. It was fantastic news, good news. Well done, Eric. That's the bottom line. That's the reality, because he managed to get back on board. And that's the biggest risk with all of this. The whole idea of challenge of sailing solo around the world is to be left hanging over the side. And it's happened many times. If a person I knew that happened in What was that? That was the late 70s in Adelaide. If Mike and Gay are listening, they'll remember that situation. Guy off the side of the boat had two other people on the boat that weren't experienced sailors, and he just was hanging off the bow until it was smashed up until the tether broke and he'd gone. Two people on the boat. Other people didn't even know he'd fallen over the side. So it happens, and it's lots of stories from lots of solo sailors. And the challenge is getting back on board, because even though you've got the ladder at the back, if the tether is going over the rail, it sags on the lifeline, and it's very hard to drag yourself back because it's got the weight of you hanging there, so it's hard to get to the back of the boat. We're yet to find out what happened. Maybe he's on the leeward side, low freeboard, or whatever. I don't know. We'll find out. I look forward to hearing his whole story. The issue of automatic life jackets is very interesting. Under the race rules, we don't require an automatic jacket. It's just got to be an inflatable life jacket safety harness. And the whole issue of automatic or manual fire is up to the individual. We go against world sailing on another issue. World sailing say you're supposed to have proper. Say I should have brought a tether in. They're like a safety hook, so that when you put it in, it's a double action to get it open, so that you can't spin it around a saddle, for instance, and it'll unclip itself and just your tether's gone. And we say that it's okay if someone wants a snap shackle on the chest rather than one of those double action hooks. You can fire it under load. So if you're on a fully crewed boat dragging in the water, you might decide in the end, if you're drowning, because you can drown being dragged by a big powerful boat in the water, you're still connected to the boat, but it's safer to pull the snap shackle and get off the boat. Just disconnect from the boat, because you're going to drown while you're getting dragged alongside the boat, and then it's up to the crew to go back and pick you up. Whenever I go out, whenever I'm driving the rib or whatever I am doing, when I'm a person in command, I will never take an automatic life jacket with me, because there might be occasions when you need to get in the water and swim. Okay, and so it's really advantageous if you need to do that. You don't want your jacket inflated, because it's very hard to swim in an inflated life jacket. Okay, so I always use a manual. I'll have all the people in the boat, if I'm in the rib, they've got all automatic jackets, right? But I'll have a manual fire, or I'll delegate even the chief mate or someone who's second in command. They'll also have, often I have two people on board that have manual fire jackets, because the beauty of an auto jacket is because sometimes you're not clipped on, right? Sounds strange, but that's a reality. Sometimes you don't even wear a life jacket, but anyway. If you get hit on the head and over the side and you're unconscious and your jacket doesn't inflate, you've got a problem. So it's very much a case of assessing the risks of making your own decisions. Now, I think the majority of the 580 sailors have got auto jackets. I'm not sure. We should find out. We certainly will, because there'll be more than a few people interested in the outcome of this. And so we'll do a full report on all the details, and I'll find out how many are using auto jackets, how many are using manual fire, and so on. And then we have a ladder on the transom, which you've got to have a fixed ladder that you can climb up with all your wet weather gear and stuff, but it's actually getting there. Now, there are a couple of things that we've discussed at length within the 580, and I very nearly made it mandatory, and in the end I didn't, because there's no real easy answer. And that's one where you have a bridle running down the hull deck joint of the hull. It's just a single rope going from the transom going all the way to the bow. Okay, and the idea there is that if you clip onto that as you go forward, if you end up in the water, it's very easy to slide to the back, because it's like a flying fox. You just slide down the rope that's actually outside the rail, right? And you get to the transom. When you get to the transom, you can grab your wing vane gear or something on the back, just pull the ladder down and climb back on board. But that's not so good either, because it means that if you do go over the side, you're well and truly over the side. Because the other theory is that you should have, most of the harnesses now have a tether which is two lengths. You can have a short tether or a medium tether, right? Because it'll have three clips on it. It'll have a clip at each end and a clip either in the middle or 1/3 the way down. So, or sometimes it's in the middle, but one is stretchy. It's like a shock cord type tether, and the other one's a fixed tether. But if you want a real long one, you just go for both ends. So you put your end tether on here. The middle clip will just be dragging on the deck, but then the furthest one is the longest. that's quite handy because sometimes you want to. Sometimes I've been on a boat where you clip on, but you crawl and laying on deck, and you want to reach all the way forward. So you want a long tether, and then you can stay tethered from that and get right up to the stem or something. So there's all these variables, and I think at the end of the day, the reason I didn't make that strop compulsory is because I don't want to mandate anything that is personal choice, and everyone's got a different opinion on safety. And at the end of the day, the ultimate safety is you're left up to your own choices. You will decide what is best for you and your boat. So there is a very strong advocate or a strong theory and a reason or recommendation, especially from Yanis. Yanis is really the designer of the boats, has had a lot of experience with small boats. And I have to ask him one day, has he had stories from people who have come off either the Set Carre, which is a smaller version, it's a 50-footer. We're 5.8, they're 5 meters, okay? But it's quite a bit smaller boat. He's absolutely adamant that no one should have a tether any longer than what would allow them to stop at the side of the boat. In other words, we have a requirement. You have to have a lot of U-bolts on the boat, a lot of places to attach to. And that's a good idea. And you could keep short ones, but at the end of the day, the number of times that I was on tracker without having a harness on at all, walking around, because in my assessment at the time, that was what I was doing. And at the same time, okay, you say, I'm clipping on, but I need to stand up, or I need to be on my knees, or I'm putting the pole away, all this stuff. You make your own decisions. So there are lots of choices. And if you do go for a super short strop and be tipped on, if you get whacked by a wave, it's impossible for you to fall over the side. You cannot go over the rail. So therefore, you don't have to worry about that challenge going down. Now, there's no right and wrong. There is no one thing that we mandate other than having the safety harness, life jacket, and so on, because the reason for that is not so much as a man overboard situation, because there's no one else to come and get you. If you're in the tropics and the water's warm, you could float around for a day and a half or something and have your PLB going, and there'd be a ship to come and get you. But the reality is that you need that life jacket safety harness for abandoned ship transfer situations, coming alongside ship, all sorts of things. You need the full works. So personal choice is the bottom line at the end of the day, how you want to manage yourself on your boat. And the good news is that whatever Eric did, even under the challenge of his inflated life jacket, which he's mentioned in the post here, and I had a bit of a chat with Brenda this morning, it was a problem. That was a challenge. So I look forward to talking to Eric and getting the whole story. And we will do that. We will write up reports so everyone can see it and hopefully learn from it and all that sort of stuff. And it's interesting also to think that I haven't heard of anyone that's had a close call on the 580. Personally, I'll explain the situation for me. I had an overboard. I've been over twice. Once was in a rib, like a 6-meter rib, big outboard on the back in Antarctica, and I dropped off a party on shore. This is in ice conditions, all that sort of shit, and I was, this wasn't my ship. This was on another one. I was the expedition team, I think it was just the expedition team. Anyway, I'm the driver. I drop them off, and in all the safety training, we tell them, you go down that water and you're dead. We tell them they're dead because the water temperature is about -1.5, right? And so I've just dropped the party off the beach. I'm just zipping away from the beach, and so I needed to do something, and my foot was up against the transom, and I zipped the outboard a little bit too much. Next minute, I thought I could rebalance. I couldn't. I ended up over the side, over the transom, full throttle on the bloody 60 horsepower outboard, zipping around. I thought the only thing I could do was let go, and so I was over the side. The shore party saw me in the water and thought I was going to die, of course, but I didn't. Anyway, but on the boat, I went overboard in the BOC, and what happened was, well, beside the point quickly, I was just doing a stay sail, a storm jib. I was hoisting the storm jib, okay, at the mast. Saw a big wave coming and thought, holy shit. And I grabbed the mast, but the water height was about probably up to above my waist, with green water at my waist, and it took my feet out. And next minute I'm over the side, on the leeward side, being dragged by but fortunately the harness went over the rail, but it was close in. And the freeboard would vary between about 2 feet and about 8 inches because I was on the leeward side, and it was blowing. And I got back on board, and that was all fine. But what happened to me, and I tipped Brenda off about this, was within about an hour, I had the most, because I didn't think I was going to die, or maybe I did. It was shit scared, but you have this massive adrenaline rush through your body. Not instant. It's just like probably was, but what's happened is you've had all this adrenaline and extreme emotion go through your body, and it absolutely exhausts you. It's like as if you've just run a marathon. And so I ended up in the bunk, and first thing I wanted to do was actually talk to someone, and I managed to didn't get a radio contact straight away. But I was on the bunk, and you were so exhausted I could hardly lift my arms. It was really scary. I want to know what's scary. It was interesting. Anyway, I was 35. I was fit and healthy. That was the leg from Sydney to around Cape Horn to Punta del Este in Uruguay. And Eric's 71. I think he might even be 72 now. He's fit and healthy, but nonetheless, it can have physical ramifications. And also, the adrenaline hides injury. So I suggested to Brenda when she talks to Eric, just make sure he checks himself, because he's probably already done that by now. He probably knows he's got an injury. But then when you're in that state, that can have ramifications for all sorts of things, your heart, stroke, whatever you want. So you've got to monitor that. And, sort of said when Eric calls, we should, when he's not asleep, and I'm sure he'll be sleeping a bit, he should check in every couple of hours and check his pulse rate and stuff like that. So anyway, we'll let you know what happens. It was scary. Well done, Eric, to get back on board, and we're looking forward to chatting when you get in. Enough of that. Anyway, some of you watching this might have experiences that you want to talk about. Hi, Tyson. Yeah, I got your email, but we've been absolutely flat out, and we're looking forward to chatting and setting something up for sure. So I'll get back to you on that one, hopefully over the weekend. Adrian, hi from my build 271, redoing frame E, measure twice, measure 50 times, and still balls it up. Unfortunately, I haven't glued it up. Okay, well, that's good. And so you're enjoying the build. That's the main thing, Adrian. I was lucky. When I say we built Tracker, I had the hull structure and the keel and rudder and everything done in Poland with Vitor, who's about to do the interesting builder guy in Poland. He's about to do the Solo Global Challenge soon in his boat, plywood boat. Yanis Medeski's design as well. Interesting stuff. So, carry on. Nothing more I can say. You know what's going on. So, g'day, Ilse from Darwin, as usual. Yep, sounds cool. Roberto, hi, Don. Can you tell me again what time Eric accident happened, daytime or nighttime? Okay, it was nighttime. That's a very good point. Yeah, he said it's nighttime, so it was. And I think we got the report at, I forget, UTC, whatever it's on in the thingo. This came in at 4:30 local time here. So that's about 3:30 UK, 3:30. Yeah, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning UTC today, but that wasn't when it happened. He didn't give an exact time. He contacted Brenda, very emotional phone call with Brenda. So I would imagine it possibly happened a few hours before then, but it was nighttime. Okay, so all very challenging and scary for sure. So Christine, good morning from Grand Bay. Morning. Roberto Cavino, also, how far was Jasmine to be able to reach Eric eventually? Would that be possible? Wouldn't have been possible, and the reason I say that is, or it might have been. The reason I say that is that he wouldn't have necessarily been able to get a contact out. Okay, and this is interesting. I mean, we'll look at scenarios. I don't want to say this is what went through Eric's head, but you imagine yourself, nighttime, you're over the side of the boat. Jasmine was probably about, I'd have to check, but probably about 15 miles away, 20 miles away or something. So you'd have to get the message to you that you're over the side. No one knows because you're over the side. He should have and could have had his PLB on the jacket, right? And then at the end of the day, you might have to make some tricky decisions here. And this is really interesting because if you're hanging there and you're about to drown on your being dragged by your tether or being hit, because a lot of it is also physical damage. If it's boat bouncing around, you're smashing your head up against the side of the boat, you can knock yourself unconscious, right? And so you might get to the point where you say, okay, I think I'm going to die. I can't get on the boat. I'm smashing my head. What am I going to do? I want to get away from the boat so at least I don't get hit in the head. So you want to disconnect and cut away from the boat, okay, because you're solo. And then you can't, because you've got this two-way safety hook, which if it's under load, you cannot pull yourself up, or you might not be able to, you might not be able to pull yourself up the line to get enough load off the hook to let go, so at least you're disconnected from the boat. And if you disconnect from the boat, then what happens is you've got to then turn your PLB on, because you wouldn't be able to, it'd be very challenging to put your PLB on when you're hanging over the side. So then in that situation, once you're disconnected from the boat and you watch it sail over the horizon and think, I think I'm stuffed anyway, but I'll give it a try. So you then bring your PLB out and turn that on, right? Now, that's instant. So we would have got a call pretty quickly on that. So someone would know within a matter of minutes that you're in the water. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing that happened is we would be able to confirm to the Rescue Coordination Centre that the boat is separating from the position of, because there's a position of the PLB, and you can see the boat tracker. We would have upgraded the tracker to every 10 minutes, which we can do from the computer, and you'd see the plot. The boat's moving away at like 4 knots. It's this shit. He's either dropped his PLB in the water, or Eric's now in the water, and he's there. Now the conditions, then we could have tried to get a message to Jasmine, because she would have been very close. And that may have been challenging, because they don't necessarily have to, well, they're not required to leave their sat phone on all the time. They can just turn their sat phone on whenever they want, but they are required to leave their YB3 on all the time. Okay, that gives us the tracking position, and we can send a message to that. So we send a message to that, and it sends off a ping. Now, that could wake Jasmine. It may not wake her if she's sleeping, because it's night time. So hopefully, as soon as she got that message, if she's only 20 miles away, it could have been a reach across to his position, and we could have done something, because we could have then got on the sat phone and talked to her, and we could guide her to Eric's position. He might have been able to do something. So, but not only that, of course, once the PLB goes off, then you're in a situation where the Rescue Coordination Centre is involved, and they know where all the traffic is, right? And any shipping has mandatory reporting in certain areas, so they can contact them and say, hey, we've got a distress situation, take a ship there, or a fishing boat or something like that. And you might, as we all know, there's a lot of traffic out there. Some of it is required to report. Some of it might be smaller fishing boats, and they're not maybe necessarily required to report. So, but if they can contact the closest thing, your chances of floating around in the water with your PLB, water temperature up there is probably about 20 degrees, maybe 22, 23 degrees. You can swim around in that for quite some time. So anyway, that's another scenario, and that's why we never mandate for the two. World Sailing says you have to have a clip on here, which is a 2-action safety clip, right? But we say we'll allow that to be substituted with a snap shackle if someone's a snap shackle, and it's a consideration if you're a solo sailor. So anyway, long answer for short question. So thanks, Roberto. Always tether yourself to the boat. Maybe consider wearing a helmet in rough seas. Yeah, that's all a good idea, Storen. Graham, could you not start a yacht club and put a mark at the finish line at the port and make it part of the course with a gate to complete the loop? Do not start at the yacht club and put a mark at the courses. Yeah, you probably could. Anyway, but we don't want to go there. I mean, it's all a bit challenging, Anyway, we'll see. But you could. It starts to defeat the purpose a bit. But anyway, we'll see. But at the moment, it's been a bit negative, because they've got regulations. We've already checked with the Coast Guard, and or Adam did anyway. He was keen to do that, and they can't because of the regulations. But then they said, blah 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 blah, write this, write that, blah blah blah. But we hate creating waves as well. But certainly, anyway, yeah, no problem. Always. So far, I have only done dry runs on inland waters with wind force 8 to 9. Please hide my comment again. Thank you. Huh? Please hide your comment. Too late. Everyone's seen it. But it doesn't sound that bad. That's cool. Rathlin, not sure if you can hide comments on live chats. Yeah, I don't know. Really interesting to hear about your comment on sequel to Super Adrenaline Rush. yeah, adrenaline's a crazy thing, because I've had a few in my time. Hopefully, few of us ever have this experience. Glad, Eric. The first experience I had was when I was, in fact, how old was I? I can't remember. Teenager. As a teenager, my first parachute jump was a static line jump from a Cessna 182. And it was a huge adrenaline rush. Anyway, this was back in the day, so it must have been in the early mid 70s or something. I don't know. And the deal was this: you do all your training, blah 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 blah. You put your parachute on. Oh, here we go. You get in the plane. You sit there you just climb in the plane and you sit there for like, I don't know, 10 minutes or 15 minutes to get up to 2,000 feet. I think it was 2,000. Not long to drop at 2,000. And you jump out of the plane. Okay, this whole series of things then. But when you land, and all you do is you walk back to the shed, which is like about maybe 150 meters or so, 200 or a couple hundred meters, and I was completely shattered. I had no energy at all, and that's the adrenaline rush. Adrenaline causes energy, and of course, when you go over the side of the boat in the middle of the Southern Ocean in a storm, and the boat's doing like 6, 7, 8, 9 knots and stuff, and you're getting dragged along the side, that's a big adrenaline rush, and it blew me away. I was completely shattered after that one. Anyway, so adrenaline is tricky. Okay, I'll go to Port Louis to welcome Eric at Customs. Oh, good on you, Elizabeth. Thanks for that. Yeah, he'll probably good idea. He'll probably want to chat. That was the funny thing. I just wanted to tell someone. I did eventually get it out there. I wanted to talk and mention that to Brenda, but we'll do an official debrief later on and do the report. Not mainly to see what we can learn from it and how it goes. Everyone will be interested in that. Adrian, oops, 291, not 27. Oh, you're dyslexic too, eh? I get that all the time. Anyway, that's cool. John, hello from Vanuatu. Oh, good on you, John. Hope you're having fun there. How's Popeye? So happy Eric is safe. I will take more care. Chip clipping on now. Yeah, it's funny, I had another one. I've been involved with lots of them, but another one, the guy was lost, and the scenario was, this was another BOC situation, single-handed around the world. It was off the south coast of Australia, and the skipper disappeared. And at the end of the day, the potential scenario went something like this: that it was the boat possibly hit a whale while he was on deck. Now, when you get to know your boat and you're walking around the boat, you know the movement and the motion of the boat. And you know where the handholds are, and you've got things to do. So in the BOC, there was lots and lots of times when I wasn't clipped on. Most of the time I wasn't. But you imagine then all of a sudden, unknown to you, you hit a whale, right, which breaks the sequence, and you're not expecting that sudden thing. And next minute you're over the side. Bugger. The one thing that drove me was always imagining, so how horrible would that be? To be floating the water and watch your boat sail away. And that was the thing that kept me pushing to, be super careful. So I had a lot of risk assessments at the time. So anyway, very happy Eric's back and safe. So that's cool. Very, very lucky and glad he is safe. Any idea of knots? He was, no idea at all. We haven't spoken to him. All I've got is that report there. But as I say, we'll do a full debrief on that when he's ready. Imagine parachuting into war. Crazy. We don't want to talk about war, but the world's screwed up at the moment. But yes, I know exactly what you're saying. We've got the classic here where not only that, it's not just jumping in. The guy hanging off the church tower in Normandy down there during the Normandy invasion. Parachutist got caught on a church fire. You probably heard it. I saw the movie when I was a kid, and I'll never forget it. The bug of me is down the road, or not. It's in that far away. I haven't been to see it, but anyway, that's life. So all good. We're all very lucky. We're all healthy. We're all having fun, and we're happy to be out there. And the MGR is pretty special. So are all the entrants and stuff. So we'll probably see you tomorrow. It's only going to be Josh out there, but we'll see how it goes. If there's anything happening, we'll be here. Otherwise, we might do a special when Eric's there. We'll do a full. We'll see how he feels. Okay, that's it. We're done. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you soon. See you later.